I think that I didn't have any idea what I wanted to be when I grew up throughout high school, throughout college. I really never had a clear sense of what do I want to do for the rest of my life. And that caused a lot of anxiety and worry and thoughts of like, why don't I know? I certainly felt the pressure while I was in college as well. I felt pressure to choose and at the same time really anxious and worried, am I picking the wrong thing? So many of us are kind, but we don't share that with others. We don't brag about it. We kind of were taught, perhaps like I was, you keep that to yourself. You don't brag about kindness. And I disagree with that. It's because I was that person. I was that Parker who, believed that giving is better than receiving. And if you're listening to this, maybe you also believe it is better to give than to receive. It might feel better, but it is equally important that we learn to give and receive.
Hi, Marly Q. How are you?
Hello, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you joining us today for the conversation. And to get things started, for folks who might not know of you, what is Marly Q? Who is Marly?
Marly Q, what is Marly Q? That's a deep question to get started with. I am a happy woman. I am a mom of two boys. I am a kindness influencer, a mental health advocate. Professionally, I was an event planner for over 20 years. I like to say I'm a retired, recovering event planner in a previous life and really pivoted into the world of keynote speaking, emceeing, and facilitating wellness experiences. So, in a nutshell.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And how did that journey begin? What did Marly wanted to do when she was young, when she was a 12-year-old or a 13-year-old?
I think that I didn't have any idea what I wanted to be when I grew up throughout high school, throughout college. I really never had a clear sense of what do I want to do for the rest of my life? And that caused a lot of anxiety and worry and thoughts of like, why don't I know, right? What do I want to do and be? But I always did have a clear sense that I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to make an impact. I wanted to help people. I always had that clarity. I just didn't know what it was going to look like. At one point, when I went to college, I actually have my degree. I have my master's is in higher education. So really, because I felt like I had to pick something. I'm going to school, getting a degree. Like, girl, you better pick something. And I was like, all right, higher education is great. And I saw myself working with college students, helping with student development, leadership development, service, and events, which was kind of my background. I'm like, all right, I can help students grow into leaders through service-driven events. And that was the path that I took. But the universe had a different destiny for me, I guess, because I never worked at a university as a higher ed professional. But now, as an entrepreneur, for the past 16, almost 17 years that I've had my business, I get to work with many universities and colleges and schools where I come in and I speak and I get to do student development and wellness. So I still get to do what my piece of paper, what my degree, I guess, qualifies me to do, but I was open and flexible that I kind of did it in my own way.
Mm-hmm. And I heard a little bit of uncertainty in the beginning years when you were in college. You mentioned something that you had to pick something up. I feel like that's a struggle that a lot of younger kids or the younger generation is going through in today's time and age, where they're trying to figure things out in terms of what's meant for them to be, because there are now so many different options as compared to back when we were growing up. So did that bring any anxiousness to you? Did that bring any nervousness to you when you were not sure what you are supposed to do, when the whole world might be telling you to do something or to make up a choice?
Absolutely. I have so much empathy and compassion for our youth, our young, teenagers that are graduating high school that feel the pressure of, having to grow up and now going to college and what am I going to choose my degree in? I certainly felt the pressure while I was in college as well. I felt pressure to choose and at the same time really anxious and worried, am I picking the wrong thing? Right. So for any young people who are, or younger people, I should say, 'cause I'm still pretty young, younger people who might be listening and tuning in, if you aren't sure and you don't have clarity as to what your career or your profession or what you want to do, I would say to lean into that with curiosity, right? That's what I would tell my younger self is not to put so much additional pressure on yourself to have it all figured out yet. If you're in your teens or in your early 20s, heck, even your mid 20s, even if you're 30 years old and you still haven't figured it out yet, I would encourage you to lean into that uncertainty and that not knowingness with curiosity, with even appreciation, because it means possibly that you're multi-passionate, that you have a lot of different interests, maybe you have a lot of different skills, and you're just having trouble choosing where to focus your attention. So while you're in that space, I would say to treat yourself with kindness, not put any additional pressure on yourself, but do take action in the direction of your interests, right? So I always I feel like I was always heart led. So if my heart was leading me to take part in an event or in a service project or go this way, and I felt enthusiasm around that or curiosity, that was my green light to continue in that direction, even if I didn't know what was at the top of the staircase or at the finish line.
That's a beautiful message. I feel like being curious and always trying to find up your passions, your interest, and trying to use that as an anchor point to guide yourself in different directions. That's a very beautiful message. And thank you for sharing that. But in terms of your own life path, you mentioned that you were an MC, you were a facilitator, you were figuring your pathway. How did you lead up towards becoming a kindness influencer?
So I like to think I love that we're in a space today, even though it's an interesting time in history. I feel that kindness is talked about a lot more now in 2025. I feel that there's a lot more social media accounts, influencers, people that are sharing a message of kindness and the impact that kindness has. So I'm very um, encouraged by that, right? But I started spreading kindness and thinking that I'm a kindness superhero when I was 10 years old. And I actually delivered a TED Talk about this. If you're into TED Talks, you can search Kindness is Your Superpower, and my name, Marly Q, and you can check out my TED Talk. I delivered it when I was pregnant with my first child back in 2018. And I got that opportunity to share that TED Talk and share kind of the story as to why kindness is so important to me, like what or who rather I credited my passion and my desire to create a kinder world to my fourth grade teacher. So if you want to hear that whole story, it's on my TED Talk. Give me a like and a comment because kindness should be going viral, and you can help us do that. But really, I think that same idea of following your heart, following your gut, following your passion, what you're excited about. I think that my fourth grade teacher gave me a gift when I was 10 years old and gave me the superpower that I didn't know I had. And I've been exercising that superpower ever since. And that superpower is kindness. I think that you, me, all of us have an innate superpower that we underutilized. It is the most underutilized superpower. And kindness has the power to not just change someone else's life, right, through an act of kindness, like my teacher did for me in that moment, but it has the power to change your own life as well. It has the power to affect someone that might have just been observing the act of kindness as well. And it doesn't just happen in that moment. That kindness doesn't happen just when the action happened. There's a ripple effect that happens as a result of exchanging what I call the currency of kindness. I've always just been very inspired by acts of kindness and seeing people basically be who we are at our core, or what I believe our best self is kind. And kindness elevates your wellness more than anything else, in my opinion. So if we're here talking about mental health and wellness, kindness is your superpower.
It definitely is, and I'll leave up a link for your TED Talk in the description so that the viewers can definitely give it a watch and drop a like and a nice comment up over there. Um, and it's really interesting, Marley, because kindness is such such a can be such a common act, but still in today's time and age, a lot of people not think about it, and it's lacking a lot. We are so beautifully connected with one another in today's time and age because of social media, because of technology, because of just like more accessible options that we have as compared to the people in the past. But I feel like we have still lost touch with one another in some way or the other.
I agree. I agree with you. And it's spaces like this, it's platforms like this, it's opportunities like this that are created by kind people seeking to make an impact and make a difference in other people's lives that are making the change and are elevating something that's so simple, so very much taken for granted. I mean, you see posters in school that are like, throw kindness around like confetti. And I disagree. I don't think that you throw kindness around like confetti. I think confetti is annoying. It creates a mess. You have to clean it up. I really don't like that idea. I like the idea of being really intentional with your kindness, right? I love acronyms. I'm a serial acronomist. I should have said that at the beginning. Who is Marly Q? A serial acronomist, someone that creates and uses way too many acronyms. So here's,
I love that.
I will try to keep it to just one, maybe on this talk. PARK. PARK is an acronym for Perform Acts of Random Kindness. And this was a movement that was started back in 2010. It was a birthday party. It's my birthday party for a cause. And I wanted to just share this message and inspire people to be Parkers, to be people that perform acts of random kindness. And that birthday party turned into a 501c3 nonprofit. As you know, is a lot
Wow.
of work, right, to get started and to keep going. And it's all volunteer driven, grassroots events, all with the purpose of uniting Parkers, uniting people that perform acts of random kindness and encouraging um, others to be loud about kindness, right? Because so many of us are kind, but we don't share that with others. We don't brag about it. We kind of were taught, perhaps like I was, you keep that to yourself. You don't brag about kindness. And I disagree with that as well. I think we should brag about kindness. If the world is so loud about violence and conflict and horrific way of treating each other, then we must get together and be loud about kindness as well, because it is the singular thing that the fabric, the thread that unites mankind is kindness. And I do agree that when I speak at schools, when I speak at high schools, when I speak at colleges and businesses and boardrooms and large events, people want connection. People want authenticity. People want a sense of belonging. People want to feel like they're a part of a community. And kindness, like being the spark of kindness, is really the way
Mhm.
is the way to live a happy, fulfilled, well life. And I think that it's taken for granted. I think it's overlooked. I don't think it's valued as much as it should be as a superpower in business and life and wellness and relationships and parenting and everything.
Oh, wow. That gave me goosebumps. That literally gave me goosebumps. And when you were mentioning about and you were talking about Park perform acts of random kindness. Thank you. Thank you so much. It reminded me of a quote that we usually use at Mentally United. It's a quote by Princess Diana. It's one of my favorite quotes. And she talks about, or she has said that carry out a random act of kindness with no expectation of reward, safe in the knowledge that one day someone might do the same for you. So when you mentioned it, it just like clicked up in my head and I was like, we always put that message out in our newsletters, in our different subscription things and stuff because it's such an important message. It's such an important thing because sometimes we can be kind, but the people around us might not be kind to us, which might feel like demoralizing. And a lot of it really stops a lot of people or hinders their process in terms of being their true, authentic self just because of how they are treated outside.
It's true. It's true. And when kindness is painted as free and it makes you weak or soft, or that if you're kind in business, for example, you're going to be walked over or, eaten alive by wolves, which are literal things that I've been told in my career. Um, it's disheartening, and when you think about that Princess Diana quote and you think about kindness, kindness is about the generosity from your heart to give. It is not to receive anything back. But the truth of the matter is that you do receive so much back, maybe not from that same person, but from the universe, from karma, whatever you want to call it, and immediate effects. The immediate selfish effects of kindness are also worth promoting and bragging about. Because whatever your motivation is to park, that's up to you. I'm not going to judge what your motivation might be. But if it's a selfish motivation to go out there and be kind to others because you know that every single time you park, you are, releasing healthy chemicals into your brain, you're balancing your nervous system, you're elevating your well-being, you're grounding yourself in presence, you're being authentic. Like all of those things have real life immediate benefits to yourself. So as much as kindness is in a complete selfless act, I'm here to tell you, you can tap into the selfish part of kindness too and do it just to make yourself feel better. And you'll see how you have more of that to give from that overflow. So kindness is something that um, I wish more people saw the not just the value, because I think everyone can agree, like, oh yeah, that's such a nice idea. Like, that's cute. Gotten that a lot too. No, it's powerful and it's important and it's what can save mankind actually if we were all on board with the simple things that allow people to connect, the simple things like smiling. This is my favorite example of an act of kindness that you can practice on a daily basis is smiling because not only is it a nice act of kindness, not in every culture, like I know not everybody embraces smiling. I get that. But even if you just smile towards yourself every day, if you have a practice of smiling at yourself, if smiling at other people makes you really uncomfortable and you don't want to do that, okay. Start by bringing a smile to your face for absolutely no reason at all. If you're watching this,
Mhm.
listening to this right now, like, could you bring a smile to your face while we're talking? Like, I think I've been smiling the whole time because this is a great conversation and I love being here. What happens when you smile? Not only is it an act of kindness, it's also an act of kindness for you, for your mental health and well-being. Every time you smile, you release a healthy dose of dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins that helps to balance our nervous system, elevate our level of wellness, right? For yourself and for others. So something as simple as smiling could be a very, very beneficial kindness practice for you and others.
That's a beautiful thing to say. And yes, definitely. Please, please do keep smiling, everyone. Um, there's another really interesting thing that you touched upon that I feel like as a mental health therapist, I see that that's also lacking up within the community, and that's kindness towards our own self. Taking a step back, realizing, recognizing things that we are doing outside for the community, for other people, and reflecting on it rather than constantly pushing ourselves to do more. And I feel like that's something that a lot of really smart and intelligent people struggle with when they are so driven, when they're so ambitious that they sometimes forget to be kind to themselves.
Well, you're talking to, yeah, the choir. The reason that I'm a mental health advocate today and a wellness facilitator today is because I was that person. I was that Parker who, believed that giving is better than receiving. And if you're listening to this, maybe you also believe it is better to give than to receive, right? If I had an audience, I'd be like, show of hands, do you believe it's better to give than to receive? Right?
Yeah. Hmm.
I believed that too. It's not. It might feel better to give than to receive, but it is equally important that we learn to give and receive. And in my journey of being a Parker, performing acts of random kindness, and in being a high achieving person, a service driven leader, I did fall into that category of it's better to give than to receive. And I just kept giving and giving and giving until I burned out. I burned out so badly several times in my journey, but for the last time, it was my biggest event that I had put on for the community. It was called the 5K Park Fest. This was a a 5K event that wasn't about 5 kilometers. The K was for kindness, and you had to perform 5 acts of kindness before crossing the finish line. And it was a
Wow.
beautiful community effort. We donated half of the proceeds to whatever cause you chose. So mentally, we are mentally united. You could have had a team at my event, and everybody that registered for your team, in person or virtual, before virtual was a thing, 2016, I had a virtual component to this event. And I would donate half of that registration fee would go to your nonprofit, half would go to my nonprofit for putting this whole thing together, right? And we did that for about 5 years. We donated over $50,000 to several dozen nonprofits here in South Florida and nationwide to those that participated. And it was an amazing, beautiful effort. But in October of 2016, if we remember back then, we were in a pretty similar crazy political environment as we are today. And my event wasn't as successful as I planned for it to be. I planned by that year, I had already done it, like it was my fifth annual, I believe. We had planned for about 2,000 participants. Yes, I said participants. We were we were planning for that many people, buying the shirts and the medals and the whole event. And we had maybe like half of that come, like about 1,000 people come. And hey, to anybody else's standards, that event was successful. To everybody that was there, woo, was a stellar event. To Marly Q in the background and my husband and my family, that event nearly killed me. Like I burnt out so badly. I needed months and months to recover, energetically, mentally, emotionally. I felt that I had failed, right? My community. And none of these things were actually true. Like this was all from my heart. It was successful by any measure, but I felt drained and empty. And I felt like I overgave and didn't really receive anything back. I didn't wasn't paid for this event. Like it was something that I did for the community. And I felt really just like empty and like a zombie for a while. And that's kind of scared me because if I, who have considered myself a philanthropist since I was 10 years old, was ready to quit. I was like, forget this. Like, I am not doing this again. My husband, we were only like 2 years into our marriage. He's like, I'm not doing this. I'm like, what do you mean? Like this? He's like, no, no, like this event and park project and all this stuff. I'm not doing it. It was causing a lot of stress and financial burden on me and, just a
Mhm.
lot. And I burned out. Like my system just gave up. Sometimes we think we could just keep going and keep giving and show up. And if the event wasn't that good this year, then you just have to do it better next year and keep going and keep going and keep going. I'm here to tell you that's not sustainable. Eventually, I don't care how good you are. I was really good. I was a professional award-winning event planner. I got this. Like that's event stress. That's regular. It's to be expected. Just plow forward and keep going. And I'm just so grateful, honestly, to my husband. I don't know that I would have stopped. I think I would have kept going had my husband not kind of, given me a little reality check and say, hey, like, when are we going to start a family? Like all this, financial pressure and stress and everything that you do on your free time is for this and it's all great, but what about us? Right? What about you and your health and wellness? And he was saying to me. And that really shifted things for me. I didn't like it. I was mad.
Mhm.
We were on our anniversary dinner on the top of a really nice hotel in Miami with champagne, and he's like, "I don't want to do this anymore." Excuse me? What are you talking about? But looking back, I'm so grateful for that conversation because that was the conversation that put into perspective what I'm prioritizing and who I'm prioritizing and the effect that that order of priority is actually having on my physical, mental, emotional health, financial wellness, like all of it. And that was the turning point for me. I'm like, all right, as much as I love performing acts of random kindness for others, it's time to be kind to me. And I paused all of my kind of philanthropic programming. My nonprofit kept going. We continue to live the cause and perform acts of random kindness. You don't have to put on this big festival in order to be a Parker, right? It's in the daily actions. It's in your daily behavior that you can be a Parker. So that pivot, that burnout to, becoming a healthy, happy, successful business person and philanthropist took a while. I mean, that was 2016. And I say I started coming up out of the water, so to speak. We started our podcast Time to Be Kind with Marly Q in 2020, like a month, like April of 2020. So a month after COVID shut us all down and locked us in, and I lost my event planning company. I'm like, this is a perfect opportunity. My business was just wiped out. Like even if I wanted to, I can't produce events right now for people. So, and I was pregnant again with my second child, which is what, we wanted. We wanted to take that step and start a family. So I'm like, what can I do? How can I help? I've been on this wellness journey for, by that time, it was 4 years. And I'm like, how can I help? What can I do? I started teaching yoga from my living room. I started, putting my laptop on a TV tray table and started, talking into a camera like we're doing here, and just started sharing with people kind of my burnout story and my wellness, and like, hey, we are all going through possibly the highest level of stress that we've ever experienced in our lifetime. Most people
Mhm.
around that time. And what are we doing? What can I do to help? It was coming on here live once a week, recording a podcast episode, doing a yoga class, just talking to people, expressing kindness, But this time I was included in that kindness. I knew that coming online, doing this podcast, doing these things was also benefiting me. So it was an act of kindness for others that included me. Because so
Mhm.
many of us don't include ourselves in the equation. Like, you are a person, just like all the people that you love and want to serve. So that was um, a big eye-opening moment for me that helped me kind of, pivot from burnout and that continued pattern of exhaustion and keep going and plowing through and not paying attention to how it's affecting you to, okay, I matter and I need to make time to be kind to myself also, or this is not sustainable. I'm not going to be able to have this long life of impact and service and my children and see them grow up if I don't take care of me and am kind to me, just like I want for everybody else.
No, that's really powerful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Marley. Um, how powerful was it to have your husband up over there talking to you about talking to you about that in that situation? Because I feel like sometimes it's really important for us to have people like them around us who care for us, who are kind to us. How important do you think is a support system or is the power of community when you're struggling or when you're having those low moments in life?
It's so important, and maybe you, like me, when I'm struggling, when things are down, I don't want to talk to anybody. I kind of go
Mm-hmm.
into like little turtle shell, and I was raised by a family that wasn't very emotionally intelligent, didn't really talk about their feelings and process things like at all. You just kind of like go to your room and deal with it. Like, so those aren't good habits that I picked up, right? And having my husband kind of see me in the dark times, like that nobody else got to see. And he loves me and cares about me. He's like, that's not fair to you. Like, how is that fair to you, where you're continually giving to everyone else, but you don't receive anything in return? And I'm very grateful. And I think it was very important for me to have that relationship. But for those of us that don't have, it's important. That's why we have therapists. That's why we have to seek support and seek the communities and seek the people that can help us and not stay in that low state of energy for too long on your own. We are not meant to carry the weight of the world on our shoulders, in this hyper connected digital, reality that we all live in now. It's easy to feel that we're more connected, but the data shows that we are more disconnected and isolated and lonely than ever. And this is a real crisis and a real problem, because you and I know loneliness is like a huge problem that causes a whole lot of other mental health problems, right?
Mm-hmm.
Humans are supposed to be connected. So
One of the major reasons I feel like today's mental health struggles exist at such higher levels are because of lack of communities. Because people have become much more individualistic in their own bubbles, and there is that lack of communities that exists that causes a lot of these struggles to happen.
It's true. And you might feel like I got this. Like I don't need anybody. I'm good. Like listen, I've been an entrepreneur, a solo entrepreneur. I don't have a team and staff. Like I had that mentality of I got this and I could probably do it better than somebody else and having to teach them and train them and delegate and ask for help. Forget that. I got this, right? And we have this I got this individual, attitude and the truth is we were not built that way. We're not wired that way. We're wired to have connection and community and rely on each other. We are one mankind. We are supposed to be there for each other in the
Hmm.
way that we can. And whether that's just being there for your family or for your close friends, or that's being there for your community or stepping up as a leader and doing things like this, right? It can look different for everyone. But what I love about kindness is that it's naturally inclusive. It's naturally accessible to everybody. You don't need anything outside of yourself to tap into that superpower and see how you can give. And one last thing that I'll say on this point of how important it is to have somebody that's on the outside is because when you are in the jar, right? You can't read the label of the jar that you're in. Maybe you've heard that before. But when I
Hmm.
first heard that, that was powerful, because if you're inside of a jar of honey, for example, it's nice golden, you know, creamy thing. If you're in the jar of honey and you don't know what that is, you can't read the label of that jar, you think you're in quicksand. You think you're going to be eaten alive by like these slow moving molasses and you're drowning in the quicksand. And somebody on the outside is like, honey, baby, that's honey. That's sweetness. Here's a straw. And, all of a sudden you can reach the floor and you're fine. But you needed somebody on the outside to tell you that's not quicksand. You're not being eaten alive. That's honey. And this situation that you're going through, it may taste bitter, but the result is going to be sweet, right? For example, you can't read the label of the jar that you're in. And that's why we need outside support, whether that's a close friend, a spouse, a therapist, a counselor, a mentor. We must find the people that are outside the jar that can support us. So that's what I would say, as uncomfortable or vulnerable as that might make us feel to ask for help. It is vitally important that we have someone. And if you don't have a spouse, a close friend, a parent, family member, somebody that you can trust with what you're going through, that's what we have therapists for, right? That's
Definitely. Definitely. And I feel like having a positive mindset and having a people around you who care for you, who support you, it's super important because just to echo what you said, like if we don't have that, then we'll just become prisoners in our own mind. And it will just become really difficult. But in terms of your work, in terms of your nonprofit, what are some of the things that you folks are excited for? What's coming up in the future?
So thanks. I love that question. I'm really looking forward to this year's World Mental Health Day. I've been putting on for the last couple of years a virtual event to basically do this. It's a virtual podcast that we spend like all day together, talking about mental health, talking about ways that we could actually elevate wellness at work, at home, at school, practical ways, and not just talking about it and being inspired like you go to events, but actually practicing it, like holding space on your calendar to elevate your wellness, to elevate your well-being in community with other people. That's coming up October 10th, 2025 is World Mental Health Day, and it's our fourth annual Mankind Summit. So I'm really looking forward to that. It's grown from something that, again, I hosted on a TV tray table with like no fancy camera, mic, or lighting at all. And it was a worldwide event from day one. I had somebody from Germany and Alaska. I would have
Oh,
never,
wow.
I would have never had people from across, the pond, so to speak, be able to impact them had it not been for the power of virtual and Zoom and all of this, which was interested that I had. Yeah. reluctantly forced into that space because this wasn't my, like, I'm an in-person person. So having to transfer my energy and my desire to connect and engage with people on a virtual setting was really difficult for me. It's something that I resisted for a very long time. And 2020 just kind of pushed me in that direction. And I'm just so grateful because I've been able to expand not just my message and my reach and my impact, but I've been able to expand my own circle of connections and community in a meaningful way, right? Not just shallow networking and meeting people and getting fans and followers or subscribers, real relationships, people that I could call up, my friend Kat Haber from Alaska. I could actually call her up and be like, hey, she's a friend now because she attended my virtual event all 3 years, for example, right? So it's giving yourself the chance,
Hmm.
putting yourself in environments that can help you, that can help facilitate networking, connection building, because it's not easy for all of us, right? Like, believe it or not, I was a terrible networker. I was deathly shy. I would not, you would not see who you see today, who speaks on stages and does a TED talk and does all these things, was not me. Over a decade ago, I was definitely behind the scenes, event planner, behind the scenes. Don't pay any attention to me. Don't put the spotlight on me. What I realized in my own journey is that I can't complain about the way that things are if I'm not doing something about it. And I wasn't doing something about it because I was scared to go live on Facebook. I was scared to hit record on the podcast. I was scared to be myself openly, right? And that fear kept me quiet for a while and dimmed my own light and disconnected me from people, right? So I'm so grateful that I had that burnout experience that allowed me to feel so sad and disconnected and unfulfilled that I had to solve that problem. And I knew the way to solve it: kindness, connection, community. So I built my own.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I hear a lot of one thing that you also did during that process is that you embraced yourself. You embraced your true self. You embraced the things that you recognize, the things that you were struggling with. You recognized some of the flaws, some of the triggers, and you embraced all of them and liberated yourself from those struggles towards this path that you're on.
You're great. That's exactly it. My focus before that burnout experience in October of 2016 was totally other focused, was only focused on the other, right? And the external. And listen, like that made me feel good. Like, oh, I'm so, altruistic and you're such a good person. Oh, Marly, we need more people like you in the world. Like, da 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 da. Okay, great. But when I go home, I have migraines for days. I'm like not eating, barely hydrating. Like my finances are in a mess because I just keep giving all my money all the way to charity, into my projects, into my side things that aren't making me any money. And like none of that was even it wasn't even a consideration.
Mhm.
So, yes, the biggest shift that happened for me is that I just started considering myself. I actually became, one of the people that I care about. And once you go
Beautiful.
down that road of like self-love and kindness, which wasn't easy for me, it was very like weird and unnatural. I didn't have, role models for self-care and wellness. Still to this day, God bless my parents, like they're just not, role models in taking care of yourself. I wish, that they would, but all you can actually control is your own destiny and your own actions, and breaking whatever generational patterns or beliefs that you've been taught that you see aren't serving you. You could be the spark that, that changes the trajectory of things, that changes generations from this point forward. My children know that self-care, wellness, like going to the gym, meditating, doing yoga, going to karate, hanging out with friends, that these things are important, that they're a part of, what mom does also, right? And
Hmm.
and I think that's huge. I think that's so important.
It definitely is very huge. And again, like the power of kindness is extremely, extremely extremely important to be talked more about. And I'm really grateful to your fourth grade teacher who did that act of kindness towards you without even knowing the ripple effects it will have up in the community or it will have up in the future. She probably just showed up with excellence. She probably just showed up with her true self, was kind to you, and it caused up all these beautiful ripple effects.
And that was, I mean, what, 1993, 1994? And I had the
That was the
opportunity.
year I was born because I was born in 94.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Um, I was able to, just to circle back on that story, so many times the Parkers don't receive appreciation because you're not doing it to receive anything, right? You're doing it
Hmm.
because you're being yourself. And that was 100% her. So when I had the opportunity to deliver this TED Talk, I wanted to honor her. I searched for her. I mean, this woman doesn't even have Facebook. She's not on social media. She was Yellow Pages. You don't even know what this is, probably. The Yellow Pages. I had to search through. I found her. I left her a voicemail, like on a home recording line. She has a landline for her home. It's not even a cell phone, people. A
Wow.
landline on her phone with a old school voice mail thing. I left her voicemail. Miss Gyro, and I gave her my name, like before I became Marly Q, like my birth name. Maybe she remembers. And she picked up the phone. I was like, hello. And I recognized her voice immediately. I was like, oh my God. And we reconnected, and I was able to invite her to my TED Talk. So my fourth grade teacher was sitting in the audience, and I got to thank her.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Beautiful. I couldn't even believe I kept it together. Couldn't look at her because I'd cry. And I had my ninth grade teacher as well, Mr. Alex Plaza, because if it wasn't for, I mean, I had really a lot of amazing teachers that I'm very grateful for, but I picked these two in particular because I don't think that I would be a speaker, an MC, an event professional, a wellness facilitator. I don't think I would be doing any of the things that I'm doing now if it wasn't for those two teachers. And Mr. Plaza, I would not be speaking if it wasn't for that man forcing me, like seeing a little spark of leadership in me, seeing that I had something to share and I was just scared and shy because I didn't know English until I was like in third grade and I had a heavy Cuban accent. So I just didn't like speaking up in class, right? Because I had been made fun of before,
Hmm.
blah, blah, blah. And this teacher, Mr. Plaza, was like, no, you're gonna do the thing. And I'm just very grateful. I'm just very grateful. And I had both of those teachers in the audience. They got to hear my gratitude all those years later.
That's beautiful. Marley, you have a beautiful story, and I'm really, 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 really grateful that you are expressing the kindness, you're spreading the kindness, you are empowering and inspiring more people to be kind. I feel like we can go on for another hour, but I know that we are a little tight on time today, so maybe we can do that the next time. But in terms of any closing thoughts, any closing comments for the listeners or for the viewers?
If you want to be the spark of kindness and make an impact in the world, know that in order for you to do that for the rest of your life and not burn out in the service of others, you need to become someone who performs and receives kindness. It's not only about others and making others feel good. That's amazing. And that feels really good. But if we only focus on being of service and being kind to others without being intentional about how are we receiving kindness from ourselves, you're going to burn out. There's going to be an expiration date to that impact. And I don't want there to be an expiration date to that impact. You know, if my worry, anxiety, stress, and burnout got me to the point where I was ready to quit, I was ready to quit. And I am not a quitter. That was scary, you know, and I don't want that to happen to anybody else. Any other young person that's really frustrated with how the world is going. If you want to make a difference, just know that you can and that it can start in small ways in how you're treating yourself, how you're treating your family, how you're treating your teachers. Are you looking at them, smiling, saying thank you, like being grateful? It could really be as easy as practicing simple acts of kindness on a daily basis to not just fill your spirit and make you like reconnect yourself to like the core of who you are as a human being. It'll also keep you healthy. It'll keep you strong, mentally resilient. Um, I think kind people are the smartest and most resilient people out there, which is why it's so crazy that we think of kindness as weakness. No, kindness is strength. Because it takes a lot. It takes a lot to continue to show up in kindness and in service. So I hope that that's encouraging. I hope that this
That is.
conversation resonated with your listeners, with your audience, because if you are attracted to this nonprofit, We Are Mentally United, I know that you're a Parker. I know that you're a person that performs acts of random kindness. And I'm just now a friend that's here to remind you that you're included in that. Include yourself.
Oh, oh, I really, really, really appreciate you. And again, I really hope that more people hear this message, more people take action on this message, because what you're doing right now, it's not just for the current times, but it's for the future. It's gonna have ripple effects for generations to come. It's gonna break up generational traumas. It's gonna really, really, really break up these different cycles, which I like to call hamster cycles that we are stuck in, because sometimes we just run like a hamster being stuck on that wheel. But I really appreciate you being here and for sharing up this message. I would love to have you back on the podcast again and continue talking more about kindness, the importance of it, because again, like how we started up the conversation, it might be a small thing. It might be a very over talked thing that, oh, you have to be kind, but sometimes it really goes a long way, and it really can change one person's life without the person who is being kind knowing about it. So again, thank you so much for being here. And lastly, how can people find you? What are some ways that they can get in touch with you?
Oh, sure. Thanks. You can find me, Marly Q, on Instagram and LinkedIn. I'm on all the platforms, but really those are the only two that I'm actively engaged on. So LinkedIn or Instagram at Marly Q. I am working on increasing my YouTube channel as well. I will be dropping season 3 of my podcast soon. This is inspiring me to get on that again because it's just so important. So please reach out, connect with me. I'd love to hear that you came into my world through this conversation, and I'm happy to connect with you more. Absolutely.
Thank you. And I'll drop all the links up in the description so you folks can easily find Marley and the work that she's doing in the community. But again, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Bye bye.